Howdy. So for this video, I'm going to show, it's pretty much a tutorial guide of how to make a homebrewed class. I saw someone on the Reddit for Foundry that they were having trouble making the Witcher class. So I started, taking the part of class and setting it up and how to code everything to make it work. So it's pretty straightforward. When you make a class from scratch, the best way to do it is a way to compare it is to take one of the existing classes from the compendium. So, for example, the fighter class is probably the most comparable to this. So, when you have the fighter class pulled up, if you import it, you'll be able to actually edit and take some of this documentation off. The only thing that I took from this that was useful is this table because in version 10 you can't make tables as easy. So I copy and pasted this table and pasted it, and then I altered it to match what I needed. I've only done it up to level 5. The rest of this is still the fighter stuff. I just did up to level 5 for the Witcher classes because they said that their character was going to be 5. So I just did it at that point as, reference so they can learn what they need to do. And I copied and pasted all the other info from the Witcher class from their build guide that they sent me, the PDF, and add it into here. The details that you do in here will dictate, how as your level progresses and how your character, continues to level those stuff. So what hit dice they're going to get, all of the stuff that will read to the class to make it link up is in this identifier. So this class Witcher will be in there. There's no spell casting thing because it uses a special system with using vigor points. And the saving throws are strength and constitution. You choose 3 of these eligible ones, which was from the guide. And then this is the wonkier tab, which is the advancement tab. This one takes a little bit of time to set up. Once you initially get one, I'll make a blank one as an example so you can see um, test. Okay. So when you have this pulled up and you're making a new one and you do the advancement, so for what you do, you just go to this add button and then you're going to do either grant add items or hit points. So hit points is the easiest thing first. It'll ask you what type of hit points that you're going to do. So for this one's going to be a D10. And then if you want to change the icon, if you're fine with just the heart like that, you can. And then, or sorry, it's hit dice, and then you can do that. And then see, this one's going to do a D6 because I didn't edit the detail in here. So I have to go in here to do D10. And then when I do hit dice, it'll do D10. So every time they level up, they'll get their, 1D10 of hit points. So, or if you do like the average, like most people do. So, when you do the features, like if you're wanting to add a specific feature, then the way you do that is you take this and you add grant items, and then you'll change it to features at the top, and then whatever level it's going to matter for. So if this is a level 1 thing, so for the Witcher in particular, like this one, he gets mutagens in his Witcher school at level 1. So you would specify level 1 and then you drag and drop. So you're going to have to make the items, or you're going to make the features to drag into it. So for this one, the mutagens, which is this one, the effect was the only thing that really mattered that had coding was the gaining resistance to poison damage and giving you night vision or dark vision for 60 feet. So the effect in here, you need dynamic active effects to make this work, and you come over to you apply to self when rolled. So whenever you put it on there the first time, you just click it once and it'll apply the effect. And then adding 60 feet of dark vision and adding a resistance to poison damage. There is no duration because this is just on you forever like that. And then you submit. And then to add it, like I said, you just drag it over. And when they hit level 1, they'll get added. They'll get mutagens added. Witcher School is you pick whichever one you're going to get, and you have like that one. But this one's pretty much just a flavor thing. And in terms for text and just having the icon on your thing is there. Now the Witcher School is actually the feature here, and then when you make whatever class they're going to be, or whatever they're going to be, like bear, wolf, snake, whatever, you're going to have to make that as a subclass, and then that way you'll do like that. So you'll actually come into here and you'll do subclass. So you'll say, do like bear, and then you could pick an icon for it, So I know there's some. I know there's a good bear one. I'm trying to remember which one it's like. I think it's in abilities. Yeah, here's like boom bear. And then you'll add the details. For all your effects will be in here. Your advancement will be the same thing. You'll do your special abilities that you're going to get for that class in year one. So, like for the bear, they get a bonus proficiency at level one that allows them to get medium and heavy armor. You create a feature that adds medium and heavy armor proficiencies. Hardy, it's like whenever they finish the long rest, they can gain resistance to one non-magical typing, so slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing. And they also gain resistance to cold damage during their living in the north. And then their hit points increases by one every time they gain a level in the Switcher class. So the adding resistance to cold damage is easy. It's just adding the damage resistance when you create the feature. So you could create individual features. So you could do bonus proficiency. You would do. We'll do Hardy. So feature Hardy, and then you could do something. Like skills, melee. I think the one guy's in wounds, or we can just do a heart. That's fine. Something good. So the the stats for it is in here. So bam, and then you gain resistance to cold damage, and finally your hit points increase by maximum by one, and at 14th level that okay. So save that, and then so for the effects, going to dynamic active effects, and so for this one, same thing when you apply it to yourself as roll, and you'll do damage resistance, which is traits. For traits. Here we go. Damage resistance. Um, you could do either that one, or I usually typically do. I go down to the traits just like that, and then add whichever ones you're going to do cold. And then you're also going to get the varying one between slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing is one that you can either set it primarily to be one that you pretty much would set it up the same way with the resistance, but this is something you could just change as you're going. So like, say we'll just do bludgeoning for whatever. So then they're like, okay, took a long rest. It's like, man, we've run into a lot of things with swords. I want to change this to slashing. You just go into it, right click it, change it, go into this effect, and then just change it to slashing. That's going to be the easiest way to code it. And sometimes people may just leave it the one thing and never mess with it, or they're like, no, I really want to change it every single day. So whichever is easiest. And then, so the one for health can be a little bit more wonky. So your maximum health can be sometimes harder to do with making it add each time. So you can do, where's the one temporary match HP, and then you can add this one effect, and then in every level, the easiest way honestly is just if they roll their die and their hit points is 20, and that was going to be their health, add one, make it 21. That's the easiest way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be making like a stackable effect, but then that can get a little wonky too. So like honestly, the easiest way of doing it is just adding the 1 HP just every time they level up. It's not thankfully that hard to keep up with. And then once you have all that done, that's good to go. And then when you have your bear advancement, you'll grant an item, thing level one, and then you would add Hardy, and then down here, and then when they hit level one and you drag bear over to them, that one's done. So, and then features. Okay. and then that one's done. And then when they get their class or their school, which this one would be this one, so then you could do this and then add your text to it. So your bear school, just a shame, uh, shame. And then you have Witcher levels and features. And then at 1, they get that. At 6, they get that. 9, they get that. 14, and then 17. And then do a bullet system. And then that's pretty much all you got to do for your subclass. And then, so you could, if you know what subclass they're going to use when you're doing it, then you can drag that into that. It's usually just easier just to once you add the class to add it that way. Like once you add the Witcher class, and then with it being first level, you just drag over the bear and it'll drop below the Witcher class. So for some of the features, this ones were a little unique in the sense of the way it casted spells and also the way it used certain features like maneuvers. So the maneuvers that they said that their person was going to use was the distracting strike, the repose, and the precision attack. So I've already coded these. The distracting strike is pretty straightforward. So to do that one, I made it a special because it's whenever you attack a weapon or whenever you hit a creature, you can expend a martial die to give your allies a chance to get advantage on their next attack. And what you can also do is say you attack the enemy. I have a example enemy on the ground here that I used for testing. So I have just this little bartender I had. So for example, you're targeting this guy. You're going to use your great sword to attack. Um, you got a hit. You dealt some damage. I also have great weapon mastery. Sorry, or great weapon fighting first thing. So it re-rolled the one or twos. I'll show you how to code that in a second. So he got a hit damage. Now he wants this guard here to be able to potentially hit him. Because he got hit, the guy doesn't, he takes an additional 1d6 damage and now he's distracted. So now when this guy attacks, he gets to attack with advantage. And once he's attacked, that strike will go away because it's only for the next attack that that guy takes. So, and then now if you attack him again, it's just normal. And then, but he rolled a crit anyways because he's fancy. So that one's pretty straightforward. The way to apply the effect to make your person do that that's automatically grant that advantage would be going over to the effects of dynamic active effects, and then the duration is set to expire whenever the character is attacked. So whoever you're targeting is gets attacked, or at the start of your next turn. If no one's attacked that creature by the start of your next turn, then the effect goes away. The effect itself is to grant advantage on attack all because you don't know if it's going to be a ranged attack, if it's going to be a melee attack, if it's going to be a magic attack. So you just set it to all, you'll cover all your bases, and then add it to 1. And that's how you would code Distracting Strike. For Repose, that is a reaction. So if you attack an enemy and you miss, then you can roll a martial die to make another melee attack against the creature. And if you hit, then you get to also add damage to the roll. So I'll attack, and we'll just assume he misses. Um, and which he actually did miss. It's perfect. So now if he used the repose, I'm not going to consume the use this time, just like that. Then he makes another attack, but he missed, so he wasted it. So he used his reaction to try and attack again, but he missed. So I'll attack one more time just to demonstrate, getting a hit, and then it'll roll his damage dice plus the extra 1d6 because in addition to that is you get to add the martial dice attack, which at level 5 is a 1d6 to that die. You get to add that die to the attack. For precision attack, this one is you choose to roll your martial die before you attack, so that way you get to add that to your attack roll. So the way I have this coded is to do one special, target self, range self, and then it's got the effect is to add a bonus to all attacks by 1d6, and it will end on your next spell or weapon or attack. And then, so how this works once it's on is you would use your feature. So, like, okay, I'm going to really want to try and hit this guy, so I'm going to use precise attack, and then I'm going to attack when it rolls your d20 plus your 1d6, and then after it's done, it removes it. And that's pretty much it for those. On the front bar, the best way to code it is to make your attributes be your way of removing these die. So you make your first attribute here, or sorry, first resource, my apologies, first resource be your martial die, and it's based on however your wisdom modifier. So I just made this guy's wisdom 16 to give it a 3. So you would do 3, 3, long rest to replenish it. And then on each one of these, the resource consumption is attribute, resource primary value, and then 1. And then every time they take a long rest, these will reset on their own. You don't have to do anything. So if he takes, a long rest, he'll have his 3 back. Same thing with the vigor points. So for spells, so the 2 spells that were listed that they were wanting to use were Igni and Ard. So in this one, these are based off your wisdom modifier. So it's 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier is what your attack rolls are and what your DCs are. So for the Ard, the easiest way of doing it was it's you can't force the enemy back coding to my knowledge, but you can just drag them back. So if they fail, you just drag them back. One takes 2 seconds. So if you target them and say hit them with Ard, and if they fail their save, which he did, then he will get knocked prone. So he got an 11 when he failed. So the way I coded Ard is to when they get knocked prone, this will last until the start of that person who got targeted's turn. And the way I did that is because realistically, an enemy gets knocked prone, they're going to want to stand up on their start of their turn. They're not just going to stay laying on the ground because no one's going to just attack you from the ground unless you're insane. So but if for whatever reason they did, you could just reapply the effects and then put them back prone. But I have it set to if they were in combat, which I can add them to combat real quick, um, to at the start of his turn. So I'll knock him down again, and I'll do Ard. He failed, and then at the start of his turn, he stood back up, and then that was the easiest way to code it. To code it that way, it is a evocation spell. So this one also had multiple effects of you push things from around you. So I made the range 5 feet because realistically you're not going to be targeting yourself. You're going to be targeting something that's beside you. So, you know, it's got like a 10-foot cone. So I'm assuming the range of 5 feet is fair. So, because it's mainly you're going to be fighting up close anyways, most people would be, especially with a character like this. So it's got the effect to if you're damaging something, I don't know how often that's going to come into play in your game personally. So, I didn't code it that way just because that's like it's very easy to just be like, okay, you roll 2d6, done, and then you did 8 force damage, done. So that's easy to do. So that's why I didn't code that one. And then the same thing with the cone. It's like it's very specific of like, okay, it's gonna push these items away unless you're using like item pile and you're gonna go through the effort of dropping crap on the ground. I wouldn't even waste your time with it. So I set it up to do the saving throw for knocking an enemy, which I'm assuming they're mainly wanting to use it for because being able to attack someone on the ground gives everybody advantage. So I figured that's what you're going to use it for. So for coding it, the duration is set to expire at the start of the target's next turn, so who was getting targeted, and then you have to have combat utility belt to set this up to be able to do prone. So combat utility belt is a module, and when you set it up, you'll have a conditions lab that you can activate through the computer. And I've made guides of how to set up and make combat the utility belt. If you want to I'll link my video in the description to how to set this up, and I have all of the stats that you everything to code everything the way you need to, so that'll make your life a little bit easier. So combat utility is required to be able to do an effect like this. So for the other spell he wanted to do, which was Igni, which was, the fire spell that everyone knows from Witcher, is to place a cone um, in front of them, or sorry, it's a 15-foot cone that does a dex saving throw, and it does 1d6 fire damage, and then it can also like ignite a candle. And then the way it's set up is it's a verbal somatic, evocation, cantrip, prepared, one action, 10-foot cone, instantaneous saving throw is going to be wisdom is going to be your modifier. It's going to be 1d6 fire. It's a dexterity saving throw with the DC of 12, and then its level scaling is cantrip and 1d6, and then it's no damn save. So if you don't do damage, you don't do any damage if they save. So, and the way that would work, it would be you would do Igni, you'd place your major template, and then, if you're going to catch both of them in it, you know, it rolled a 4, both of them succeeded, both of them did not take any damage, both of them are okay. And then I have a I have a macro that delete templates, and then that's it. So, and then, but you can also, click that off and it'll delete the template at the start of the turn, depending on what modules you have turned on. So that was pretty much it for setting that up. So when you are doing something like Great Weapon Mastery for some of your things for your fighting style, you can do, or Great Weapon Fighting, sorry, would be the way to code that is to do 2d6, then roll less than or equal to 2 plus your mod. So the way that works is as long as you roll a 2 or 1, it will automatically re-roll those and pick the new result of the next roll. So trying to see, I don't think I have him targeted. So if he rolls, and hopefully I'll get lucky, on one of them. Of course, he's AC feels like it's forever. My goodness. Advantage. My goodness, even with advantage, he's still terrible. About to drop his AC to 1. Okay. So got lucky. Two twos. So roll a 4 and then roll another 2. So it'll automatically remove the first 2. If it's a 1 or a 2, it'll remove them and then roll a new die, and you got to take the new result. So it's very easy to code, but very effective, because it's nice when you turn a 2 into a better one like that 4. So it's always super clutch. So that's pretty much setting that up. So when you're actually adding the feature of the class to the character. So the way that works is, so this is a level 0 class up here at the top, level 0. It doesn't have any races or anything like that applied. So when I apply this, he does not have a con modifier right now, so he's not going to get, any of that stuff. So, you know, max first level health would be 10, and then it's going to apply these effects, which are the mutagens and the Witcher School. You would click complete. So the mutagens are now, they haven't activated yet, but the way you would do is you would just click it, and then it'll now give him poison and dark vision. So like all you do is just hit it the one time and it'll activate it. So for the Witcher schools, would be like, say, like the bear that we used as an example. And then so with, if the bear doesn't match, then basically you have to do Witcher, or sorry, it's a bear, and then class identifier is Witcher. Okay, and then it'll add it below it. And then um, Hardy did not transfer over, so we'll add Hardy to it. And then Hardy, I hit Hardy, so it activated, and then it added the cold and then slashing resistance that it came with that with Hardy. And then you would do, anytime they level up, so he would have been, realistically, would have been 10 health, but then you would make him 11 health for that extra 1 health. So now that I have the Witcher class in there, and if I gain the experience to level up, so I hit 300, and it's like, okay, now I've gained enough experience to level up, you know, um, which let's do 305. And then, so now I'm going to move him to level 2, and then you could say take the average health or roll however you're going to do it. And then the fighting style, which will determine, which one you base, whichever one you're going to pick for your person, or whichever they're going to pick, whether it be archery, defending or defense, dueling, great weapon, or protection, then they'll pick that. And then the martial supremacy is the thing with adding like the martial dies and then martial saves, which are some of the ones with those. The maneuvers are just basically just a list of all the maneuvers, and I picked the three that they wanted. And then the signs, which is just basically explaining like how it uses the cantrips, and then the vigor, which will basically adds like the vigor points, and then that also explains like how your saves or your signs, saves, and everything are in, and then you would click complete, and then it'll add that, and then martial is different from the data at wisdom mod. Maximum uses this formula martial supremacy. As I set this one up to have this, I accidentally did that, but I ended up testing it out, and it's easier to honestly have this one just be blank and not have anything in it because honestly, it doesn't need anything. It's honestly, it's just flavor text anyway, so it's mainly just you can have it. Having the martial dice on the attribute one is the most efficient way of doing it. And basically it'll just be like this until you level up your character, all the way up. So then, once they hit level 3, same thing, you'll take the average roll, then you get the Alchemist Adept. So for the Alchemist Adept, looking at that, so being able to create it was the formulas. So the formulas can go either way. To make a formula would be making a consumable item would be the easiest way of doing it. I don't know what formulas that they want to do. There's too many of them. I wasn't going to take the time to code all of them because it's a little tedious. So, I'll do like two of them as an example. So we'll do wolf, and I'll do one that shows like one that does like a resistance and stuff like that. Like we'll do bindleweed and as examples. So we'll create a consumable, and this will be wolf formula, and then consumable, and here's the text for it. And then, so what this does is this increases your weapon attack critical threshold to 19. And then, but this also requires level 11, but I'm just using this as an example. And then you basically take a penalty to your AC. So you could, once you do the modifiers, so then you can do creatures, abilities. I think I saw, here we go. We'll use this from right here. That'll work fine. And then um, you can make this however you want. And then, I think formulas, I don't remember what the thing was, if it takes like an action or bonus action or whatever. So, destroy on empty. And then, so then you would create the effect for it. So for this one is the threshold is the easiest one to search for it. I believe it's just critical. See, no, then I think it's threshold. There we go. Critical. So weapons critical threshold, and then you change it to 19. And then I don't know how long these things are supposed to last. Honestly, I read this briefly. Um, the potency of this formula lasts for 24 hours. Okay, so 24 hours, I want to say is what is the one? It's 60 times 60. Let's see. So then it would be 640. And then it also just depends on kind of like how long you're going to, if you're using like time in your game or not. So then the other effect of this is to do your AC, and then okay, we'll just do attributes. Let's see, and we'll do armor class. Armor class bonus, and then you do -2, and then that will minus your AC out to accommodate for doing the wolf formula. And then so that's the wolf formula. It'll get added to your inventory. Then you can do the other one, which I said I was going to do, was um, the bindleweed. So because this is a lot of these are kind of like this. The consumable bindleweed. Okay, and then do this one. And then I'll just do a consumable container. Consumables, potions. Let's do this one. Okay, so this one you gain resistance to acid damage and you gain vulnerability to cold damage. So you'll actually kind of even out with the bear. So same thing. It was 400, and then you're gonna gain resistance to traits, damage resistance to acid damage. Yep, and then traits damage vulnerabilities to cold damage. And then once that's done, and then that's the effect of that. And then that's done, and then details, destroy on use, all that. Again, I don't remember what it was, but then like destroy on empty once you used it and apply the effect. So, and then I'll apply these for examples so you can see. So, attributes, he has damage resistance to cold, nothing like that. So then he'll use the Bindleweed. It's whoops, equipped. Make sure he's targeting himself, and oh, he applied the effect, but he just applied it to the wrong guy because he had it on someone else. So he'll apply Bindleweed to himself, and then you can destroy it, or if you're going to make the same formula or whatever, you can keep it, and then just you can have like a quantity of how many you're going to have on it. So, but now that he has it on here, he now has damage resistance to that. He has damage vulnerability to cold, and then same thing for the damage threshold. One for critical threshold, drink a wolf formula. So then he now will drop his AC is now 10 because the formula dropped it down to the 2, and then he targets, which I'm probably not going to get lucky enough to get 19. 15. I need to get it back on his turn so it stops asking me about that. I'm just going to end combat because I get tired of it. Keep asking me about reactions. And then untarget him. And then there's a 14 and a 9. Oh, there's a 19. Okay, 19 critical hit. Boom. There you go. So there's his critical hit with his 19. So, and then he got a bunch. So he took that one away and turned it into a 2 and got it into a 3 and a 6. So always nice. So that's pretty much it for like coding that kind of stuff. The formulas, like I said, unless I know specific what I need to do, it'd be hard for me to code. And like I said, I'm not going to code every single one of them. But I mean, it's pretty straightforward coming up with the class. A lot of it's just really dabbling and playing with dynamic active effects. That's what really opens this game up, is being able to do certain things in that, because there's just so many things you can do in dynamic active effects, and it really makes the game pretty fun. And then the more you have modules into your game, makes it a little bit more easy to do things. So like I like to automate my combat to make it go as fast as possible, which I use Midi quality of life for that. So like I can give you an example of what I have active for my modules. Not all of these are being used, to the quality or to the extent of like some of them, like dynamic active effects gets used a ton, but like some of these kind of only get used a little bit. But like I have 64 total modules opened in this video, and you know this is my main world that I'm actually using for my game, so I wanted it to be most accurate in terms of what I'm actually using to make this work most efficiently. If you personally like my setup for MIDI quality, I'll open it up here in a second so you can kind of take a look to see what I have and how I have it set up, just to kind of make combat a little bit faster. So my MIDI settings are as follows. So I have the workflow settings. I have the GM1 to uh, auto attack roll, not to auto consume, because sometimes I may want to turn and check yes or no. I don't do late targeting because I think it messes things up. Auto fast forwarding, damage when rolls are needed, remove chat buttons like that to make it a little more streamlined and make the chat window not as bogged down. For my player tab, auto attack roll, no auto consume, damage when like that, and attack damage. Workflow, walls ignore defeated. That one's checked. Requires targets to be selected in combat. I only really do it for combat. That I think it's like, all right, you have to show me who it is that you're targeting. Hits check to see if all see results. I like everyone to also see if something hits or not. I also don't like to show, how much an attacker missed by. I think this looks really wonky, so I always turn that one off. I hate that one. Um, I like to show, like, I don't hide stuff in my rolls and stuff like that. I always let them see what I roll for them. I have it set up so if my players aren't, I use let me roll that for you. If for whatever reason someone steps away and they get triggered for an attack or something and they have like a reaction or whatever, I'll give them like 7 seconds for them to do it. And if not, then it will slow the game down too much because sometimes it's just like, hey, if you step away, I don't want it to completely stop everything unless it's like, okay, I want them to at least be here for that. Um, I had to require magical properties. So, like, if a magical weapon has a magic resistance or whatever like that, I wanted to have, the magical property checked in my item for it to apply that. Concentration, I do use Midi's concentration opposed to using the computer or the computer's concentration. I just think it works a little bit better. Um, the reactions, I do have reactions turned on. It does get a little annoying at times, but it's really good for players if they have things like shield, things like that they can use the reaction. But it's more annoying when you have people using reactions for attacking abilities and they have to remember it, kind of like the Ricochet was an attacking reaction. For miscellaneous, show items in macro sheet, merge items in one card, don't show in the chat. Character use the characters in the portraits are there for their card, and then the fix all. I still don't think that does anything. Mechanics. I have incapacitors or can't take actions or reactions, and then check weapons range when attacking. That one's also a double-edged sword because if stuff isn't coded correctly, like if you have like a melee weapon and you're stepping one space back, it'll pop up like boom, you can't attack with it because you're too far away, which is good if a character is like, oh, I'm close enough. Like, no, you're not. So it's good with certain things and ones like that. Um, and then rules, I don't use any kind of optional like that. And they have a quick setting one, but it doesn't do it exactly how like mine is. But like I said, I like how mine's set up, so you don't have to set yours up the way I do. But it's just the what I like personally. But and then in here, um, fast forward ability rolls, really hide private and checks like that. It's like I don't like to see what my players can see, so like I can't see their whispers. So like I like them to have a little bit of control for themselves. If they want to whisper to themselves, they can because it didn't hurt my feelings. They talk behind my back. So, um, you know, item delete check. I always like it to always make sure and ask me before I delete something because I don't want to crap. I have to remake something, so it's always a pain in the ass. So, but that's pretty much it with MIDI in terms of setting combat up like this. Like I said, I really like what dynamic active effects allows you to be able to do and to be able to make certain effects to work as well as it can. So, it's very, very effective. But like I said, if you have any other questions about this class and setting certain things up, just let me know. Like I said, I know this was a little bit more personalized to like one specific person and like wanting help with this one class, but I don't mind helping people out, and this is hopefully at least useful for some other people that are wanting to, making like a homebrew class or wanting to learn how to like make certain features and stuff for classes, and it might be useful for stuff like that as well. But till then, if anyone has any questions about anything, please feel free to ask me. And till then, I'll see you in the next one.